Alright, so I just recorded my live ranking of every new Generation Ultraman show, but I forgot to mention that you can play along too, because I've created a live event on Tier Maker, which will let you show me your ranking of every new Generation Ultraman show. Now, I'm going to try to include the link of this event in the description. I'm also going to make a post about it on my YouTube channel, so check the posts tab, because I really want to know what you think are the best and worst New Generation Ultraman shows. And if you want to know what I think are the best New Generation shows, then let's get started with a big spoiler warning. You have been warned. Hello there, and welcome to an episode of JP Zilla. Now, I'm doing all of this live, which is a completely new experience for me, so just bear with me. But this is a video where we rank all the new Generation Ultraman shows. I thought that since Omega just finished, and we are about to celebrate Ultraman's 60th anniversary with a whole new 60th anniversary show this coming year, I figured we should take a look at what has come before and rank where we've been. Alright, so with that intro out of the way, let's get started. Alright, the first up is Ultraman Ginga. Now, I just recently rewatched Ultraman Ginga, and honestly, it's a pretty solid show. I wasn't a big fan of it at first, but I think I'm gonna put this one in A category. It's definitely not the best of Ultraman, but I mean, hey, it did reboot the series, essentially, the franchise. Now, Ultraman Ginga S, I haven't watched this one in forever. I don't really remember much about it, but I do remember feeling like it improved on a lot of what Ginga did. So I'm going to just put it ahead of Ginga right here. X. Another one I haven't really watched in a little while, but I remember the first time I watched it, I had just watched Orb and G back to back, and I was so in love with the serialized storytelling, the ongoing narrative which they presented. And then you get to Ultraman X, which is a more traditional Ultraman show, was a bit more episodic, and I was a little disappointed by that. So I think that colored my opinion of it, but I remember it otherwise being really good, actually. The relationship between Daichi and X was superb. You can definitely see that it kind of laid the groundwork for what would come with Haruki and Zet in Ultraman Z, also by director Kiyotaka Taguchi. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. I'm going to put this in A above Ginga S and Ultimate Ginga, or instant S tier. If you know me at all, you know this is not only my absolute favorite Ultraman show, but my absolute favorite Ultraman show of all time. The serialized storytelling, the main story, the dynamic between Guy and Juggler, I mean, everything is just, it's perfect. And I really can't say much more about it than that. Ultraman Orb, the Origin Saga. Oh, now I have some thoughts about this one. There are things about it that are great, and there are things about it that suck. Just suck. Alright, so the things that are great about it is Juggler's origin story is superb. The whole conflict with him cutting down the Tree of Life and the people of Planet Canon completely ostracizing him for that and judging him for that, and that becoming a large part of why he eventually turns to the dark side. It was that was very good. And yeah, Guy and Juggler are the highlights of that show, but on the other side of that coin is Empress Amate and Dr. Psyche, who are somehow tied for being the most annoying characters in Ultraman history. On one hand, you have Empress Amate, who is pacifistic to the point of almost not saving her people. Like, eventually she does, which, that's great, but she almost didn't stand up for them. She waited until the last minute to decide to stand up for them, and she was whining about it the whole time, and she is just so annoying, and it is just a pain to watch her. And you have Dr. Psyche, who's the complete opposite, who claims to be a pacifist, but will absolutely unalive literally the entire population of Planet Canon to achieve what he wants, which, I mean, it shows the hypocrisy of a lot of people in the real world who are like that, but at the same time, it is a pain to watch. Because it's so hypocritical and so annoying, both of them. So Kai and Juggler are top-notch in that show. Empress Amate and Dr. Psyche are the absolute worst. So I'm going to put this in... should I do B tier or C tier? I'm gonna just do B tier for now. I don't want to be too harsh. Ultraman G. It is right behind Ultraman Orb. Like, this one, it took a lot of what Ultraman Orb did, and it ran with it. In a way, it feels like a spiritual sequel to Ultraman Orb. You have another great villain in Fukudeke, and also Ultraman Belial, who, while he didn't show up a whole lot, his presence throughout the show could be felt. And it was great. Ultraman Rube. This one is another one where I watched that first and I was like, but rewatching it, it's very good. I don't know if it's A tier or S tier. I'm thinking it's A tier, but like the very top of A tier for me. And the reason why is just like the dynamic between Katsumi and Isami, excuse me. I mean, the whole family dynamic in that show is very heartwarming. There are a lot of beautiful moments. Of course, Aizen, or Ultraman Orb Dark Noir Black Schwartz, is a delight to watch. And so is the villainess, who succeeds him, Mitsurugi, or Grigio. So, great villains, a great family dynamic, and a great, threading storyline throughout the episodes with the mystery of what happened to their mom and how that's connected to Eisentech. Ultraman Taiga. Now, this one is one that I have to admit I feel is quite a bit overhated. I actually liked all the Ultraman characters, like Taiga, Titus, and Fuma. I thought they were a great team. They were very fun to watch as characters. And, yeah. So, I think that is very much overhated. And also, Trigger. Trigger is a great villain. And I know that kind of wasted his potential, both in the finale of Taiga onwards. But he was still such a delight to watch. And, you know, the show really did have its moments. Like, it had a strong message throughout of anti-blanket discrimination against aliens. And even that one member of the team, Homare, who was secretly an alien, like, he had, like, I think 2 pretty great episodes. And of course, the leader of the group, who started the group in the first place because of her failure to help the alien child, when she was working with the other super secret agency. So, there are some pretty good character moments. I feel like perhaps the Ultraman host is a little forgettable. And also, I feel like the ending was a bit anticlimactic. But honestly, that's the worst I can say about it. So, it's an A tier. Below... Let me see. It's below X for sure. Below Ginga? No. I mean, it's a bit... This is a controversial take. I know a lot of people hate this, but I think it's above... I think it's a solid A tier above Ginga and Ginga S. Z. This one, I almost feel like it deserves the number 1 spot. I think I like G a bit more, but I mean, I feel like all 3 of these shows, Orb, G, and Z, could tie for the best Ultraman show ever. The dynamic between Haruki and Zet, as I mentioned when I was talking about X, it's amazing. It is one of the best Ultra-host relationships since Leto in G, which was absolutely beautiful. I like Zet a lot. I like his He's very energetic. Of course, Juggler, shows up again. Spoiler. I should have put a spoiler warning at the start. I'll put it in the description or the title somewhere, don't worry. And if you know me, Juggler's like my favorite character ever. So, in fact, what made me watch Z in the first place was I heard that Juggler was in it. I was like, wait, what? And I had to watch it after that. And I just like binge watched it in 2 days because I just wanted to see all the scenes with Juggler in it. And I've watched it many times since then, with my mom and dad because they're also Ultraman fans. Trigger. This one I feel is also overhated. I feel like it did a lot of good things with the mythos. Like, for instance, the Giants of Darkness. They were from the Ultraman Taiga movie. And I feel like Trigger actually improved on the Giants of Darkness a lot. Like, Carmera in the Trigger series is a very tragic character. You get to see kind of how being rejected by Trigger drove her nuts. And you do sympathize with her a little bit. Dargon, he goes through that whole character growth thing where he learns to respect humanity through his crush on Yuna? Yeah, that's her name, Yuna. And of course you have Yuna, who's the descendant of the priestess and has inherited her power, and she has to go through that. And you have Akito, who's dealing with feelings of jealousy towards Kengo because he's the one who inherited the light. And although I have to admit, I feel like Akito was very underutilized in that show. Like, they could have... I feel like he should have been the one to become Evil Trigger before Ignis did. But speaking of Ignis, he's like the second best character in Ultraman behind Juggler. Like, he's great, he's charismatic is the word. You just love to watch him, and when he does turn into Trigger Dark, which was completely unexpected, and you realize that this whole time he's been hunting Huderam, who is another villain, he's one of the Giants of Darkness, and you just love to hate Huderam. Like, the other two, they kind of feel sorry for them, you kind of understand, but Huderam, he's just there for you to absolutely hate his guts, and in the best way possible. And so you do get those sympathetic villains, including Ignis, who, like I said, you eventually learn his whole purpose was to hunt Trigger. And, like, you know, the series made you think, oh, he's just a treasure hunter, he's just a pirate who wants treasure. But no, like, his real purpose in life is to get vengeance for all his dead friends, the dead planet, and to revive that planet. And, like, wow, there's so much more to this character than you think when in the first episode he tries to kidnap Yuna. Like, so yeah, the smile thing is definitely cringe. I'm not gonna argue that. But this is it S tier? I know that'd be a very controversial take. But you know what, I'm gonna put it up there. Honestly. Even if it's just for Ignis' sake. Decker. I feel like this one fell a little flat. I mean, it was alright, but forgettable. Except for one thing. Agams. Love him. Great villain. He's a lot like Ignis, actually. Huh. You know, I'm just realizing, like, his motivation is the exact same as Ignis's. But still, he's a great villain. But he was not enough to make that show all that memorable. However, one thing I did like is the revelation that Ultraman Decker comes from the future and is actually like the descendant of the protagonist of the show. I can't remember his name. And I thought that was very cool. But that was like a minor part of the story. It didn't really come into play that much. So I honestly think that this show is worse than Origin. it's just more forgettable. Like, I know I was kind of ragging on Origin a lot because, like, of the very annoying characters, and the fact I forgot to mention, like, half the plot is the people Planet Canon, when I'd rather be hanging out with Guy and Juggler and watching their perspective. Like, if it's Origin Saga, I'm there for Orb, not for the candidates. Sorry. So, I think, that being said, I think that Origin is still better than Decker, and I'd place Decker in C tier. Blazar. I feel like this one's a very solid show, but I feel personally like we've backslid. Now, you know, like, if you've seen my latest short, you know what I'm talking about. I feel like we had a very good thing going in the new generation when it came to storytelling and the ongoing story arcs. But Blazar kind of it dropped all of that. Yes, we have the V99 side quest thing that leads up to the finale, but the V99, like, are kind of the worst villains. They're super underdeveloped. We barely get any build-up. Like, we have Emmy trying to figure out what's going on with the V99, right? But we barely see that. So, yeah, I feel like the lack of main plot, it was kind of just like, oh, here's a monster from space, here's another monster from space. Like, it didn't really have any progression, other than the monsters getting progressively stronger. Which, I know, it's kind of classic for Ultraman to be more episodic, but I feel like we had developed a great thing with the way we told new Generation Ultraman stories. Like, it was probably the strongest element of the new generation show. Like, however, this show has some really good episodes. Like, it has some really good standalone episodes. Like the Niji Kagachi episodes, the rainbow monster that bonded with the professor. Like, those two episodes were great. The episode with the Space Samurai, Zangiel, that was amazing. I love Zangiel so much. And yeah, that was a great episode. Episode 3 of Ultraman Blazar, Thus Fought Emmy, where Emmy is forced to infiltrate this evil guy's corporation to spy on it. That was also a top-notch episode. So this show has some great episodes that, like, if you're, you know, feeling run down at night and you just want to pop in an Ultraman episode and don't feel like binge watching a whole series, like, Blazar has some great episodes to choose from, honestly. It's got some great characters too, like Captain Gento. And Captain Gento, he does experience some character development when he, you know, has that whole conflict with Blazar, the Ultraman personality, over the baby kaiju. And his, of course, the relationship with his own son, and how he's kind of away all the time. And honestly, that was a great plot. So it is a very solid show, actually. So I'm going to put it above Ginga and Taiga. You know, I was thinking of putting it a little lower, but honestly, talking it out, like, this is a really good show. Ultraman Ark. This was also a good show, I feel. The protagonist, Yuma, he was very enjoyable, and so is that guy who really liked the coffee, Shu, right? What I really liked about it is that Ultraman Ark, he had a personality, who a bit more than Blazar did. Like, I know Blazar's got that whole caveman thing going on, but he had a personality, he had lore, which, you know me, I love lore. With the whole thing about how his galaxy's sun is about to go supernova and how he needs to stop this evil guy from basically throwing the sun into Earth. And that was a very cool story, a very cool midpoint finale, and it had some very interesting episodes. I remember that. Zangiel came back, which was awesome. So, I don't know. I remember the first time I watched it, I liked it better than Blazar. It's been a little while since I've watched it, but I think I'm going to put it next to Blazar. I'm not sure if I'll put it in front or behind. I remember the first time I watched it, I thought it was a little better than Blazar. So, I'm gonna... Oh, but Blazar's actually kind of good now that I think about it. You know what? I remember the first time watching it, I thought I kind of like this better than Blazar. But... And maybe if I watch it again, I'll come to the same conclusion, or maybe I'll come to a different one. But for now, I'm just gonna put it behind Blazar, mostly because I've watched Blazar more recently and I remember its strong points better. But, you know. Omega. This was a great show. It felt like a new generation retelling of Shin Ultraman, with the space gazers and, like, Serato not being meant to intervene with human affairs. So I really actually liked seeing the Shin Ultraman elements return. More than that, I liked Serato and Kosei as a team, as buddies, so much. I feel like their dynamic was the best character dynamic we've seen in a good while. And I feel like all the characters were very well developed in this show. Yeah, Serato and Kosei and IU. And the fact that I remember all their names, like, that should tell you they're pretty good characters. And also, like, the boss lady who came in, like, in the middle of the series. I can't remember her name, but she was a very fun character too. And while this one didn't have much of a plot, like a main plot, like the Space Gazer stuff only came in at the end of the series, it was still very fun to watch. I like how they gave Kosei the ability to help Serato with the Meteor Kaiju. And not actually be involved. Like, one of the things that ends up happening with Ultraman is, like, the side characters can sometimes tend to be a bit useless. So giving Serato the pet kaiju to, like, the Pokemon, essentially, to come out and help Omega was actually a pretty good move, in my opinion. It made Kosei matter. Strategically. So, yeah, like, I feel like this show, it was very good. It was very enjoyable. So I'm gonna put it ahead of Ark for sure. And maybe ahead of Blazar. Ooh. Do I put it ahead of Blazar? You know what? I'll put it behind Blazar. Like, when I watched it originally, I thought that I liked it better than Ark and Blazar, but talking it out, I don't know. Blazar, it's, like, I still like it a lot better than Ark. Not to say that Ark was bad, but... Okay, actually, I'm going to change one thing. I think Taiga is better than Ark, and I know, that might be a bit of a controversial take, but this is what I believe. Alright, so is that it? Have we covered them all? Well, this was a lot of fun. I hope you had fun listening to me rant about, like, my favorite shows of all time. And, like, these really do have to be some of my favorite shows of all time. Like, I think that Ultraman, even the worst of Ultraman is better than 90% of any other shows. Like, especially American ones. Honestly, we, as a pop culture in America, we have not been doing so hot lately. So, but Japan's cooking. Japan's been cooking, and Ultraman has been cooking, and I cannot wait to see what they do for the 60th anniversary of Ultraman this year. So, yeah. Feel free to subscribe and look out for the next Ultraman series with me, react to it with me, and until then, this has been JP Zilla.